Endrick was the star player of the auction and he was picked up by Romford for 155 million. Current leader Roy has traded Lewandowski and Marquinhos to sweet their foot. Based on CA, third round pick Marcos Leonardo is the best natural striker in the squad. Evan Ferguson will be the long-term striker of the team, but this feels like a bit of a transition season as he's not quite there yet. Harvey Elliott should replace Sterling in the team as Romford switches back to two attacking mids. Endrick is slightly lower CA than Lautaro, but you'd expect him to be the regular number 9 by the end of the season. Sai Maggio brought in Allegri as manager to increase his squad size to 24 players. Zaire Emery is unlikely to see much game time this season, as Rodri and Casemiro have been brought in to add more quality in the defensive midfield position. Dunk has strengthened his defence with Levi Colwill and Eric Garcia. He also spent 122 million on John Gray, but he'll need a bit more time to be a first-team starter. He brought in Ancelotti to send out academy product Alex Gordon to Burton, along with Carlos Barbieri. Billy spent 151 million in the auction to bring in Klopp and has switched to 4-3-3. Draft picks Odegaard and Gilmar are likely to join Kimmich in a midfield 3. Vlahovic isn't usually favoured by AI managers, so Rafinha may play on the wing to push Leao or Felix up front. Sean has strengthened his team defensively by bringing in Araujo and Goretzka, but he is lacking pace on the wings and has stuck with Neymar for another season. He'll be hoping Osimhen and Raspadori make up for that pace up front. Upamecano will have a lot of responsibility on his shoulders to improve Tom FM's defence and build on the success of last season. If Martinelli and Haaland stay fit, this will be a very scary team. Mike made a lot of moves in the off-season and should be feeling much better about his squad now. He couldn't resist bringing in Lewandowski to replace Benzema, but otherwise it's a team in their prime. Wirtz was loaned out last season and will need to repay the patience shown to him. This season I'm up against the media prediction. The only team we massively differ on is Sai Maggio. I predicted him to come first last season, but I'm not making that mistake again. I've been a bit more harsh on Roy, but if Vinny Jr. and Yeremy Pino play well, I can definitely see him competing at the top again. I like the balance of Romford and Billy's team, so that's why I predicted them top 2, but this is definitely the closest the league has been between the 8 teams. Right, let's get into it. Here's how things look after round 1. Only 4 points separate the top 7, but Billy is lagging behind in last place. Haaland has continued his good form from last season, and Sweet Left Foot will be glad to see Wirtz in second place of the average rating table. I don't think I've ever seen a league leader with negative goal difference. All of Romford's wins have been by 1 goal. Roy's defence is still doing well, but as predicted he is struggling a little to fill the gap left by Lewandowski. Lautaro Martinez is out for 2 to 3 months, which means Endrick has been thrown in at the deep end, without basic English skills yet. Based on the predicted starting 11s, I just wanted to call out a few surprises after the first round. Bruno has only come on as a sub in 2 games for Sean, as the 4-2-4 formation really doesn't suit him. Brendan Rodgers has chosen to place Saka at left back, rather than on the right wing, getting only 2 assists in 7 games so far. As predicted, Klopp has no interest in playing Vlahovic, and has rotated between Lukaku and João Felix up front. Rafa Leao has only started 3 games due to a thigh strain injury, so Harvey Barnes and Adeyemi have got a lot more game time than expected. So that probably explains why Billy's currently bottom. Okay, moving on to the halfway stage now. And Billy has managed to climb off the bottom of the table after Leao has been able to return to full fitness. Dunk is currently 3 points clear at the other end of the table, with Romford dropping down to 4th, although he has got positive goal difference now. Mike was top for most of the round, but has only got 1 point in his last 4 games. Sai Maggio conceded 6 goals to Romford, largely due to a Casemiro red card after 30 minutes, which leaves him with the worst goal difference in the league currently. Let's do a quick XG check, and Sean will be feeling very hard done by looking at this, as he's currently sitting in 6th despite having the best expected points. Unfortunately for Billy, Leao has picked up another injury and is struggling to string a consistent run of games together. Of course, these 4 injuries for Roy will be wiped off thanks to the Conte manager perk, which Oscar Glick will be happy to hear. Now let's push forward into the 3rd round of the league, before the cup fixtures come into play. It's looking very tight at the top, just 6 points separating the top 6. Mike has now slid down to 6th, only getting 2 wins in that last round. Haaland looks to be running away with the golden boot, but surprisingly both of Dunk's strikers have got double figures already. Roy and Sean look to be picking up form at the right time, while it's become a battle for first draft pick between Billy and Sai Maggio. Both Billy and Sai Maggio will be without their creative talisman for a while, as Odegaard and Bernardo Silva have both picked up hip injuries. Well, it's all set up for a tense end to the season, as we go game by game for the final round. Game 1, and there weren't any major shocks. A tight game between Roy and Romford ended 4-2 to keep Roy firmly in the title race. Mike jumped up to 5th, and to ease initial concerns, Saka has now played all of his games at right wing since the first round. Let's switch over to the cup draw, and every game is very tight after the first leg. 2 late goals kept Billy in it against Dunk, so it really is all to play for in the second leg. Billy carried that late momentum into his league match against Dunk with a 5-2 home win. Romford lost again, and it looks unlikely they'll be challenging for the league this season. And Billy's dominance over Dunk didn't stop there as we returned to the second leg of the cup.
Aren't we forgetting one teensy-weensy but ever so crucial little tiny detail? I own you!
Romford's poor form continues, as Mike and Sai Maggio also get knocked out. Again, it was very tight in the first leg of the semi-finals, with De Bruyne getting a last-minute goal to give Roy hope against current holders Tom FM. Back to the league, and Romford couldn't put up a fight against old-time rivals Dunk, certainly not helped by Cancelo losing his head. Mike surprisingly lost to Sai Maggio at home, while Tom FM is still going strong at the top of the table. Quite a funny stat is that bottom of the league Billy and Sai Maggio have both scored 11 games in a row, with the next best achieving only 5. Alisson and Edison are still proving to be valuable assets, as they've been significantly better than the other keepers up to this point. Comfortable home wins for Sean and Tom set up a final between them. It's Sean's first time in the final, and it means Dunk and Billy are the only teams not to have reached the cup final in the first 4 seasons. Mike has put himself in the title race with an unexpected win against the informed Tom, while Dunk was also held to a draw away to Roy. Sai Maggio beat Billy in the battle at the bottom of the table, so Billy is in prime position to get that first draft pick. In the next fixture, it was 2nd versus 3rd, and it looks like Dunk is bottling it again. Mike has done his pal Tom FM a big favour here, who now has a 4-point cushion at the top thanks to his away win against Sai Maggio. Billy got a win against Romford, so they're back equal with Sai Maggio on points. Tom could secure the title in the next round of fixtures against Dunk, but he'll be going into it on the back of a 1-0 loss to Sean in the first leg of the final. Tom's team only got 3 days rest, but they managed a 0-0 draw to end Dunk's title hopes. So Mike was the only remaining team to challenge for the title, but he also drew at home to Sean, despite a big XG advantage.
What I want to talk to you about today is disappointment.
So this is how the league looks with 1 game remaining, and Tom FM crowned as champions. There's potential for every other team to change position in the draft, some for the better, some for the worse. I was curious how Sweet Left Foot's goal difference was so good. and every loss for them has been by only one goal, apart from one game against Billy. And there has been a lot of movement at the bottom of the table. Billy has given up his number 1 draft position, and Romford have climbed up to 4th due to head-to-head. We've also got a graphic here to show the difference in performance between the two halves of the season. Romford were 5th in the first half of the season, 6th in the second half, but have ended up 4th overall.
I hurt myself today.
Let's take a look at the individual awards, and Haaland was of course the Golden Boot winner again, only missing one game this season. Rafa Leão also deserves a special mention for 8 goals and 9 assists in 21 games. It was up to Sean to prevent Tom from winning the double, and it didn't start well as his keeper did his best David De Gea impression. But Sean went back ahead on aggregate, thanks to a lovely assist from Goretzka. With just a few minutes left, Martinelli got a goal from a corner to take it to penalties.
I am inevitable.
After Diogo Costa saved the first 3 penalties, it was down to Bruno Guimaraes to finish things off for Tom, to be crowned back-to-back champions and win the first double of the series. I said if Martinelli and Haaland stay fit, this would be a scary team, and they proved me right. To finish things off, we've got a new feature of the series called Teen Watch, Dunk's favourite hobby. So let's take a look at how the loan moves and other notable youngsters have performed this season. And it hasn't started well, as Wahi got sent home halfway through his loan spell after doing his cruciates. Almost all of his appearances were off the bench, so it wasn't working out too well before the injury anyway. Next we have another Billy youngster who played even less on his loan move to Bristol City. He did still develop well, so it wasn't a complete waste of time. The most successful loan move was Dunk's academy star Alex Korn, who was a first-team regular for Burton. He was also joined by teammate Carlos Barbieri, who started on the opposite wing. Another one of Dunk's young boys was new signing John Gray. He featured a lot more in the first team than I expected, and it's helped his development nicely. Samu Pertzer was less involved this season compared to previous. His development is still progressing nicely, but he played more games as a winger rather than a right-back. Robert Aleth got a good amount of game time this season, making the most of the gap left by Marquinhos. He did break his leg towards the end of the season, but that will be wiped away at the start of next season. Seeing as Wahi's loan didn't work out so well, I thought I'd mention the other player Billy sent out on loan, who did have a better time of it. Not a regular starter, but enough to keep increasing his CA. So, after all that, here are the CA increases for each player. Obviously Wahi didn't improve, but I think otherwise it was a good season for the young lads. Now the final thing we need to talk about, and it's a very serious matter, is can we get Sweetluff Foot to stop buying retirement home strikers and let them end their career peacefully?
So it's just, for me, I can't do it.
You can! You can do it! You can! You can!